Hello, welcome to Carnivore Wellness. My name is Rebecca, and today I have some great news for you. Carnivore gets easier. Are you new to carnivore and kind of overwhelmed by all of the information and wanting to try and do things right, do things this way, or take everyone's advice and tips? Are you constantly watching YouTube videos to learn as much as you can? Are you feeling a little anxious about social situations and how to navigate those? What am I going to eat when I go out? How do I order at a restaurant? What are people going to say? I've got news for you. It gets easier. So I am simply making this video as a word of encouragement to any new carnivores who are currently feeling a bit overwhelmed or inundated with all the information and all of the, changes in their lifestyle that they're making as they transition to a carnivore diet. So I have been there. I have so been there. When I first started carnivore, I kind of just dipped my toe in, started eating meat and eggs, and very quickly realized, I need more information, I need more support, and started looking online, found lots of great resources, and even connected with community, and that was tremendously helpful because there's just so much out there. But it's interesting because in the early phases, you go through this huge information gathering stage where you're constantly just soaking up new information like a sponge and applying it to your life. And that is very important and very valuable. And I think does a tremendous job of helping us adhere to carnivore, especially when we start to experience things that are perhaps more of a struggle or a challenge later on. Being armed with that knowledge, the science behind why carnivore is key, why it works, why it is so significantly beneficial for us as far as being hormonally supportive and anti-inflammatory, that really helps us navigate, some of the challenges that we may or may not experience as we continue to go through this journey. But it can be a lot. It can be overwhelming. It can feel like you can't watch enough videos. You can't listen to enough podcasts. You just can't seem to get all the information. And it's like drinking through a fire hose at some points. It feels like that, at least. And, I know I felt that. But it's all right because I think for a lot of us, that is, a phase, and it's a really important phase. This phase of gathering information and knowledge and arming ourselves with what we need so that we can stay motivated and stay dedicated even when we hit those little speed bumps along the way. And with that said, it does get easier too as far as our social interactions and especially around food-based social gatherings. So I was reflecting on this this past weekend. I went to my brother and sister-in-law's house and we had a great time. And I used to really stress when I was first carnivore and we went to go visit friends and family. I was really stressed about what I was going to eat, how I was going to make food. Was it going to be weird? Is it going to cause issues, with our host? And really and truly, I was stressing and it was good to be mindful of going into that situation and being prepared. But it really has become so much easier for me now. All I did this last time was I took a few extra dehydrated snacks that I'd prepared and then, woke up in the morning, went to the grocery store, got a big old thing of ground beef and just made a bunch of burgers first thing in the morning. And I had those to eat on for the rest of the time that I was there for the weekend. It was totally fine. It was very chill. And it just is nice to reach a point where I'm no longer so stressed out or, concerned about how to navigate those social situations. So that gets so much easier. And I think there's just this level of confidence that you gain over time the longer you do this diet, this way of eating, where those things don't ruffle your feathers as much anymore. You don't worry so much about the comments people might make or, the way people might look at your food on your plate or if you're going to, if it's going to be awkward that you're eating something different from other people. Honestly, it's really not. And the longer that you do this, the more other people in your life, they come to know you. Okay, that's the carnivore. She's not going to eat this. And it just is more accepted and it's easier to navigate. So I think that's really helpful for a lot of people. And I just wanted to share that because it can feel so overwhelming in the beginning. And I just want to remind people and let folks know it's not always going to feel like that. As you continue and you progress in carnivore, knowing what to eat and when becomes second nature. There's definitely a learning curve in the beginning as you're trying to tune into your body's hunger signals. You're trying to figure out what foods work well for you and which don't. Perhaps maybe you've got some sensitivities, and it does take some time to work through those to really figure out what works best for you. There's also this period of time where perhaps your digestive system really needs a good bit of health and healing. Over time, as your body heals, you become a lot more tolerant of things, and or you just simply learn what works well for you. So you are able to move out of that experimentation process and instead step into a place where you know what suits you well, you know what foods you like, you know what cuts of meat you like and how to cook them, and you're able to, make those food choices without as much decision fatigue and without as much consideration. You're really able to tap into your hunger cues and let that guide you to know if you need more fat or more protein that day. You're just armed with more information that you've gathered over, the last several months to a year, where you now know how your body operates and you know what makes you feel your best. So again, it just makes this way of eating a lot more simple and sustainable. But I want to recognize that it does feel a little overwhelming at first. And I just want folks to know that it doesn't always stay that way. I remember in my early days thinking, man, I wonder if I'm ever going to not be so obsessed with learning about everything carnivore. I wonder if I'm ever going to be in a place where this is second nature and it doesn't take up nearly as much mental space in my mind. And I'm now at that point. It's very automatic and very accepted and easy to navigate. So I do think that place will come for a lot of people. And I even see this reflected in some of the members in the Carnivore Wellness community where, they kind of went through the same thing, that information gathering stage, that exploration of what works for them and what doesn't, and tuning into their body's wisdom of what foods to eat or not eat. And now that they're a year plus into carnivore, they're able to take a step back from especially that information gathering and that kind of consistent search for optimizing their own personal health and nutrition through carnivore foods. And I think it's just very common. I think it's a stage that you go through in the early days. And of course, it's always great to continue to learn. I do that as well, but not nearly to the same amount that I was doing before. Whereas before, it was listening to YouTube videos all day long throughout the day, trying to consume as much knowledge as I can. Now I'm able to balance that out with, still listening to key interviews and listening to key people in this space and, doing a lot more reading and whatnot. I've been able to shift my focus and it's been really helpful. So I wanted to share that is totally possible for you. If you feel like it's a lot right now, it probably is, but it's not always going to be. And you will reach that place where, the information gathering can kind of quiet down a little bit. The social situations get easier to navigate and you start to really tune into your body and let that guide you as opposed to always having to do so much troubleshooting. I hope you found this encouraging because I really want to help encourage others to stick with their carnivore diet journeys, even in those times where it's a little challenging. In order to do that, I've also created a Carnivore Wellness community, so you are welcome to join that. I'll put the link down below. It's a place where meat-based eaters can come together, connect with one another, and share their own insights, experiences, stories. And I have that fully accessible. It's free if you want to join. I host weekly lives where you can check in, connect with other carnivores, as well as an entire e-course dedicated to helping you get started on carnivore with confidence. Lots of great resources there, meal plans, recipes, things like that to get you started. And if you want to take it a step further, you're welcome to join the monthly commitment membership where our members transform their lives with the carnivore diet. Coming to 3 times a week live Zoom call meetings where we get together, we chat, we lift one another up, we can help troubleshoot issues or offer words of encouragement or insight. And it's a great place for us to build that community so that we don't feel alone in this, but rather feel like we are a part of this great collective of people that are furthering our health and wellness, which ultimately will benefit each and every person in our lives as we are able to show up as the people we want to be. So if that sounds like something for you, please come check it out. I'll put that link below. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, found it helpful or encouraging, I would love it if you'd like and subscribe. I'm curious for you. Where are you in carnivore and all this meat-based eating? Are you still drinking from the fire hose of information? How are you going about gathering, your education in this way of eating and fueling your desire to know more, to learn more? And, what are social situations like for you? Are they still a little stressful, or have you been able to make peace with that and find yourself, feeling confident in those situations? Always very curious, and your story may help and resonate with someone else who might be reading in the comments, so please comment that below. All right, guys, we will wrap it up, and I will see you next time. Thank you for joining me.